Welcome to all of our attendees at this week's Webinar Wednesday. I can tell you that the interest in this topic has been tremendous, as strong as we've seen in quite some time. A tribute not just to the topic, but also to the tremendous level of guests that we have with us. We'll be introducing these two folks here in just a minute. But as an introduction to the topic, we are going to start here. A couple of months ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, I reached out to a number of employers in the industrial sector. As you know, here at ATS Lab Midwest, we pride ourselves in working directly with industrial employers and understanding what trends are taking place in their business so that we can be the best possible partner to all of our friends in education as we think together about the future of education and what it should look like. So one of the questions I asked a couple months ago rather, was what is one trend in your business that people in the world of technical education should be aware of? We talked to some really interesting people. I talked to Mike Chico, who's the president and CEO of Fanuc America, the largest robotics company in the world. I talked to Tom O'Reilly. Tom is the senior vice president of Rockwell Automation. To Todd Wanek. Todd is the CEO of Ashley Furniture, the largest furniture manufacturer in the world. I asked my friend John Lowry what he thought. John is now the assistant secretary of labor for the Department of Labor here in the United States. At the time, he was working in the world of manufacturing. I asked Rick Anderson. Rick is one of the 5 people that really put together the business plan and helped get WebMD started. He's now the CEO of a company called Smart Choice MRI. I asked a number of these people, what is one trend in your business that people in technical education should be aware of? Well, one of those people who was kind enough to spend some time with us was Tom Linebarger. Now, Tom is the CEO of Cummins, and many of us know Cummins is a huge Columbus, Indiana-based manufacturer of all kinds of engines, but incredibly large company. They're a $25 billion company with a B. For those of you who spent time in the world of business, that's $25 billion in annual revenue. So that's a really, really good sized company. And I think when most of us think of Cummins, we think of what's underlined here, that they distribute and manufacture and service diesel engines and other types of engines. But most of us, when we think of it, at least for me, I think of large generators. I think of heavy equipment. I think of large diesel truck engines when I think of the company Cummins, really, really large internal combustion engines. So what did Tom Linebarger tell us when we asked him, what is one trend in your business that this huge manufacturer of internal combustion engines should be thinking about? What should our technical educators be thinking about when they think about the future of their programs? And here is what he said. He said electrification. He said that is a key trend. So we need capabilities in batteries, in power electronics, in controls, in mechatronics. What is electrification? Well, quite simply, it's this whole idea of replacing the technologies that use fossil fuels like coal and oil and others with technologies that use electricity as a source of energy. Electrification in the world of transportation means replacing or combining electric motors with internal combustion engines to propel the vehicle. And so when this CEO of one of the largest companies in that space was asked about what is one trend that your technical educators should be aware of, the first thing that came to mind was electrification. That is what makes today's topic so very important. This isn't just something that a couple of guys came up with because they thought it would be cool to have a little electric car in a classroom. This technology will totally transform the world of transportation. In fact, many people would say that it already is. So it's important for our students to understand this technology, to become aware and excited about it in a really, really fun and educational way, and to focus not just on driving an RC car around, but what are those competencies that are going to be important as our students move into and through high school and onto the technical and community colleges or universities? What technologies will they need to know? That is what we are here to talk about today, and I am so excited to introduce our two guests. Our first guest is Levi Wilson. Now, Levi, if you look at his LinkedIn profile, and Levi, my guess is we're going to have a whole bunch of people jumping to it right now. So if you see the looks on your LinkedIn profile go way up, you'll know why. If you look at Levi's LinkedIn programmer, he has the words professional tinkerer. And I can tell you personally, as somebody who's known Levi for at least 5 years now, that is exactly what he does. This guy innovates, designs, engineers, troubleshoots, invents really, really cool learning technology in areas like autonomous vehicles and drones, and now electrification and electric vehicles, among others. For 14 years, he's been the general manager of a company called Mind's Eye Education. That's a company that we here at ATS Lab Midwest are really, really proud to be partnered with. And this whole idea of transportation is nothing new to Levi. He has an associate's level degree in diesel technology and heavy equipment. So, what better person to be innovating in the world of electric vehicles? Our second guest is Terry Graham. Now, Terry is the vice president of that same company, Mind's Eye Education. Terry and I met each other for the first time. I guess it was about a year ago, maybe give or take. We had talked on the phone. We had met over Zoom, but in person the first time at the WTEA conference. And I can tell you that Terry impressed us from the start. He was a person that it didn't matter who came by, whether it was somebody, an educator, a high school educator, technical college, university, an industrial employer, another supplier, another distributor. Right away, he was building bonds with these people, being able to speak their language. And the reason for that is he has an incredibly deep background in the world of education, over 20 years of experience in education, business development. And in those 20 years, Terry has seen a lot of things. So let me begin by both for Levi and Terry, welcoming you both to Webinar Wednesday and thanking you both so very much for being with us.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. We're so glad that you're here. I know that you're here, and I know that our audience is really glad that you're here. So we're going to dive right into some questions about innovation, about technology and electrification, about how we teach it. And my first question is one for Levi. I think, as most of our audience knows, this whole world of electric vehicles, Levi, is innovating really, really quickly and really rapidly. Can you talk a little bit about the innovations in electric vehicle technology that you're seeing from your standpoint?
The main innovation, or the main focus traditionally, is extending battery life, getting better performance, longer ranges from the vehicles, a mix of boosting the battery power itself, how much amperage you can get out of them, voltage, stuff like that, as well as a mix of making your motors and your control systems more efficient, just getting that range to kind of match what everybody expects of a vehicle.
And so, it's so interesting to hear you talk about things like control systems and electrical circuits, and in so many ways, this is an extension to and from some of the other things that our students are learning as they walk through their curriculum, whether it's in a middle school or a high school or even beyond. When we were talking a while back, Levi, you really, really impressed me with some of the applications for electric vehicle technology. I know a lot of folks think, at least I did for a while, that it was really about green energy, green technology, clean technology, reducing CO2 emissions, improving energy efficiency. These things are all really, really important. But in a lot of ways, there's some other things that are driving the advent of this technology. Can you tell our audience a little bit about what are some of the other reasons that customers and use consumers would be interested in this technology?
Again, back to the performance aspect of it as well. A lot of people don't really think about that because some of the major focus is on getting the efficiency out of it. But electric motors are capable of producing almost instant torque. So you get really, really massive acceleration values out of some of these electric cars. So much so to the point that you can get like a new Porsche that's $100,000 that weighs 5,000 pounds to beat a $400,000 Lamborghini in a quarter-mile drag race. So, the performance aspect of it is always there. It's just you kind of pick, do you tune it for performance? And with an electric car, you can actually just change that with a knob on your dashboard.
Wow. So it's not just about how do we advent green technology. Obviously, those things they're all very, very important. But some folks that are purchasing electric vehicles, looking into this market, are actually doing it for the performance, actually the performance of the engine, the performance of the vehicle. That example about Porsche is certainly no exception, and just a perfect example. So speaking of going to 0 to 60 really, really quickly, I know, Terry, you and your team have had to really quickly take a look at what are those competencies that are important. It's not just about how do we teach electric vehicle technology and how do we teach somebody how to drive that vehicle or make it operate. You really had to go deep in terms of what do we want students learning when it comes to this technology. Share with our audience, if you will, what types of competencies are embedded in the learning with an electric vehicle.
Absolutely right. We had to dig deep on it, and we had to make it so it's not just about, we didn't want it to seem like a toy, an RC car, So we really had to think about the, the learning behind it. So some of the competencies, to name a few is, we really look into the problem solving, teaching how energy travels through a system, efficiency in the design when you're designing a product like that. And then, so the relationships between, to go to the aspect that Levi was talking about, the relationships between force and motion as well.
Got it. And so there's all these different STEM applications that we can teach students that are going to apply not just to an electric vehicle, but probably to a number of different disciplines that they're learning. Applies as a result to a number of different courses, can be deployed through a number of different courses or classes at every level of education. So now I'd like you to a little bit, and we've got some video I think to play. How do we teach this? You designed this really cool solution, curriculum, and so on. Talk to us a little bit about the solution itself. And as you're getting ready to do that, Terry, I will tell you that as soon as people saw the photograph of this thing and the invitation to the webinar, we had instantaneous registrations. Sometimes it takes a little while for people to jump on. And as soon as we ran this blast email letting people know about this webinar, they were jumping on and registering immediately. It really shows well. But before we get too dizzy watching this thing go in circles, tell us a little bit about teaching electric vehicle technology and the solution that your team has come up with.
Certainly, yeah, and that's the car itself, the kit itself, it is flashy, if you would, but we created, it's a 1/10 scale electric car kit. The kit comes complete with all the necessary electronics, hardware to assemble, and it's compatible with most of your hobby standard, DC motors, gears, remotes, and other components. So we try to make it fun for the students and give them a reason to learn. But it's not just the flashy little car spinning around on the ground there on the carpet. It is more about the students and learning and building the kit, designing it, being able to change it up a little, and creating. It's about the creation. The STEM aspect of it. It's about the students being able to design and create the product as well.
Got it. And Levi, I know some people might look at a solution like this and they think, well, that's kind of your average RC car. And I know in talking with you that it does and teaches so much more. So if somebody asks you that question, is this just an RC car that you put together? Tell us how this is unique.
So the focus with all of the Mind's Eye labs, even down to the smallest ones we have, is really the ability to modify the product. You can take it, build it exactly how we have instructions wise, test it out. If you like to perform better or different, you can change the gearing, you can modify it, lengthen it, width and height, add different wheels, tires. So all the parts and pieces are a kind of a basic construction system that allows you to implement changes as you go. So whether package delivery, things like that, you can kind of modify it to your application.
And what a great opportunity for students to find creative ways to change the platform, to change the program, to come up with something different. You had both referenced kind of the whole design and technology aspect. I know that was something that Terry had highlighted in one of his answers. And so being able to take those design principles and showing a student that, yes, there is a turnkey way to build this, and we can start with that, but now we can modify it in so many interesting ways, improve its performance, change what it does using a really, really unique system from Mind's Eye. So I think it's safe to say that this is certainly not just another remote control car, that it does a tremendous amount more than just something that you drive around on the carpet in the office. So, Terry, let's talk a little bit about the curriculum. We're really big on, it's not about just students having fun on a really interesting platform, and no question that something like this is going to be really, really fun for students as a learning platform to learn on. But, the other thing we really have to think about is what competencies do we want students to learn? What do we want them to be able to do when they're done? And then how do we design that into a platform that a teacher, an instructor, a professor can use in the classroom, can use in their lab, that has kind of a design in terms of what that curriculum is and what the students are learning? Tell us a little bit about what curriculum is associated with this product.
You're exactly right. Again, we wanted it to be more than just a kit. It is it is for the students. It is eye-catching. It is, desirable for them to get their hands on and do things with it. But that's the key there. It's hands-on. So we developed the curriculum in that same sense. So for the electric car, we have a 45-hour curriculum. And in that curriculum, we broke it out. We've got it set up into 4 primary units, covering some of the competencies we talked about earlier. So we start off with an introduction, talking to them about electrification, why it's important, how it works, that kind of thing. Then we get into, that's in Unit 1. Unit 2, we get into more of the variables in force and motion. Moving on into, once they've gotten through that, get into Unit 3, we get into the electrical engineering and energy transfer in the curriculum for the components. And then we have, in Unit 4, we have a culminating project. So now the students have designed and built it, and then we have some tasks for them to achieve.
Perfect. And I know our audience is going to be really, really impressed with the amount of thought and the amount of design and engineering that went into not just the product, but just as important, perhaps even more important, the curriculum. What are we teaching? How do we teach it? How do we provide our teachers and our instructors with a roadmap for how we teach this technology, which is so very important. Our guests today on Webinar Wednesday are Terry Graham, who's the Vice President of Mind's Eye Education, and he is joined by professional tinkerer, Levi Wilson, who in his spare time serves as the general manager of that same company, Mind's Eye Education. Levi, I want to turn our focus to you. I know by now a number of our teachers who are joining us today are saying, wow, this is really cool, but how would I deploy this in the classroom? How do I implement this? So as you've worked with educators to put this program together, what advice would you have for those teachers and instructors that are on with us today in terms of implementing the program?
Most of the Mind's Eye stuff fits perfectly into the CTE classes. The electric car, specifically like engineering classes, technology classes, allows you to supplement, add to, or give an application for what they're learning in a technology class or in an engineering class. In an engineering class, when they're designing stuff, this gives them a physical product to test out designs, show the application actually working in the real world.
So one option would be to have a whole new course on this technology. Another one would be to embed it into a course that already exists. That's probably a more turnkey solution, a more easy to implement solution. But in any event, the implementation of the program sounds there again like you put quite a bit of thought into how we can deploy this in the classroom. So let's talk now about this new world that we're in. We're in this world where we've got students who are learning everywhere. Some of them are in the classroom, some of them are in their bedroom, some of them are at the family dining room table. Hybrid learning is becoming really, really important, both in terms of being flexible and giving our students opportunities to use e-learning platforms and other methodologies for learning. What kind of thought have you put into the hybrid learning environment, Terry, as you've thought through this curriculum and its delivery?
Well, again, with the new world we're in nowadays, the new quote unquote normals that we are in because of the hybrid learning solutions that students are in, we did a lot of thought and effort went into the development of this curriculum in particular. We have a few smaller kits along with this, with the electric car, but so we specifically designed this one with a hybrid learning in mind. We kept the kit compact. It doesn't have a tremendous number of parts. So, we kept the pricing at a point that's affordable for most schools. So they would have ability. So if they wanted to get one kit per student and be able to send kits home, there is a carrying case, a case for it with a lid on it. So we also have the sheets in there. So very easy to check on components and to inventory. There's a very inventory sheets in there. So we really designed it so that the students, the ease of be able to sign those out, take them home with them, and continue learning at home.
All right. So as always, thinking way ahead of yourself, Terry, in terms of not just how we do the teaching in the classroom, but also if a student is learning from home, being able to provide that level of flexibility as well. I know we're excited to get to our audience questions. We'll be doing that in just a minute, and I'm sure they've been flowing in, and Melissa has been monitoring those. So looking forward to answering all the questions that we've seen so far. One last question for you, Levi, before we get to the audience questions. I think when people think about electrification, they may confuse that with autonomous vehicles. They're two different things, although they're close cousins, and one technology certainly lends itself to the other. Can you talk with our audience, if you would, about how the technology that the students will be learning on the electric car will lend itself to what they might learn in a course or in a program on autonomous vehicles?
As you're saying, there is a great deal of overlap between most electronic cars and autonomous vehicles. Most electronic cars have the ability to monitor their wheel speeds, things like that, their motion, their power much more closely than a gas engine does. They can regulate those, a lot more efficiently, which allows more feedback for an autonomous vehicle. So it makes building an autonomous vehicle much easier to start off with if you use a base electric car as the chassis.
Excellent. So lots of commonality between both autonomous vehicles and electrification, as Levi references. So Melissa, I think at this point, we've got plenty of time for some audience questions. Would love to hear what's on the mind of our audience as they've weighed in on the topic today.
Absolutely. And we've had some great questions coming in. And just a reminder, if you have any, go ahead and shoot those into that Q&A box and we will pose them to our panelists while we have them here. So might as well use this time. The first question is, Terry, maybe I'll have you answer this. What is the target age group for this kit?
Well, what we like to say is the teachers know their students more than we do, of course, but we have designed this so it could fit nicely in a middle school setting or maybe an 8th or 9th grade, early high school, so more of an introductory type course.
Awesome, thank you. The next question that we have come in is, maybe Levi, you can answer this one. How many students would work with each kit?
For the electric car lab, we really pared it down to 1 to 2 students. So in a classroom situation, pair up a group of kids, but it's capable of being taken home as a 1-student project.
Great. And maybe Mind's Eye team, you can tell us a little bit about, I know we've talked about being able to bring them home and the hybrid learning. Can you tell us a little bit about how we can make those kits clean for students, during COVID, make them safe and sanitized?
That's one of the things we did quite a bit of inquiry on with all of the manufacturers of electronic components specifically was how can we clean these things? How can we sterilize them? All the base components can be sprayed down in kind of a cleaner, bleach, isopropyl alcohol, anything like that. But for the electronics, spray a rag, wipe the surfaces down, let them set till they dry. Pretty standard cleaning procedures.
Awesome. And Levi, while I've got you, can you tell us a little bit, how easy is the kit to put together and take apart, and how many times can it be done before needing parts replacement?
So all of the parts and pieces for the kit are designed to be disassembled, reassembled. It's year to year, you take them apart, you inventory them, you put them back in the bags and the boxes. The next kid can check it out, or next class can apply with it. The batteries, you have the ability to charge them about 8,000 cycles. So, that's quite a long lifespan. Wire ties are about the only thing that they're reusable wire ties, but if they cut them, then that's about the only consumable materials in the class. So
awesome. And while we got you here on the video, could you show us that that component you have hanging up on the wall behind you, that there's a larger model of the pieces?
So for doing web stuff, it's tougher to show the detail of the beam in the camera. So I 3D printed a 5x scale version of the beams themselves. Just makes it easier to show the tooth pattern inside of there. The fact that we have 2 separate beams that line up when you go over and up. Rotating connectors versus locking connectors. Allows you to assemble and disassemble them by pulling out the components apart. So this is kind of just a good visual aid to show on camera.
Awesome. Thanks, Levi. Matt, I'm going to actually direct this next question to you. Which trades could you see benefiting from this program being embedded in the curriculum? And also, I'll go along with that because the same person asked this next question. I think they can kind of work together. What do you think the job outlook is in the near future for this added skill set?
Yeah, great questions, Melissa. So I think we look at it a couple of ways. The first one is, we love emerging technology. We love electric vehicles. I just think that that whole world is so fascinating. And when we spend time with automotive programs, whether that's a high school automotive program, a technical college automotive program, community college program, or for that matter, diesel programs, I see the fundamentals here applying to those types of programs. So when you talk, when we listen to Terry talk about the fundamentals of motion and the fundamentals of controls. All of that technology has been alive and well on every kind of vehicle for quite some time, for in some cases decades. And so I think there's applications there. I think the next thing we have to look at is the fact that that technology is going to change, and we are going to have new jobs in this world of electric vehicles. And so as we counsel our automotive and diesel programs around the Midwest, we say this ought to be something that's at least on your radar. Some are more open to it than others, but I can certainly tell you that technology in that world is going to morph toward electrification. We already know that. We've been told that by some of the biggest players in that industry. So we know that trend will continue. So any place, automotive or diesel, there's going to be applications there as that technology moves along. I think the other thing is, if you look at this system, it's a small mechatronics process, if you will. And so we're starting to teach a lot of the things that are in that curriculum outline align really well with mechatronics. We have control systems, we have electrical circuits, we've got programming and coding, and all of those things have great applications and great corollaries in the world of industry, industrial maintenance, electromechanical technology, automation. So there's applications there as well. And then I think then the third opportunity is with any student that is considering a career in engineering. And if you think about the opportunity to get hands-on experience with this type of technology, have a context for what they're learning when they're going on to earn an engineering degree, I think there's great application there. So like so many of the solutions that we work around here at Lab Midwest, I think that's probably the biggest. Those are the biggest opportunities. But we love the fact that they apply to multiple different disciplines. And Melissa, you have to remind me on the second part of that question. Did I catch both of those? Or do I have a straggler there?
Yeah, you answered the part about the programs, and then I guess the next part was just about the job outlook for this whole skill set.
Absolutely. So jobs in automotive are going to change. They are already changing. We're seeing the automotive world become more and more automated without question, more and more data driven. Those trends are going to continue. That's not just specific to this technology. That's a broad macro trend happening in industry. And so jobs are being disrupted, and they will continue to be disrupted as a result of this. What we know is that the types of technologies that are disrupting careers in the automotive sector are these types of technologies. And so fortunately, as students are learning these in middle school, high school, community technical college, and elsewhere, they are going to have application when they get to that workforce in the world of automotive. So that job outlook in automotive, if you're the person turning the wrench, standing on a production line, probably not tons and tons of years left in that career. If you're looking at how these technologies manifest themselves in the production of automobiles, huge future, which speaks to the importance of continuing to upskill the incumbent workforce as well.
Great. Thanks, Matt. So I think we have time for one more question. I will pose this first to the Mind's Eye team, and then Matt, if you have any additional thoughts after they answer, feel free, and then I'll let you wrap things up. So our final question, Mind's Eye team, what would be a good next step once students complete this 45-hour curriculum with these kids? So what items or products would go next? Could you talk a little bit about the rest of the Mind's Eye offerings?
Yeah. So the next place for us would be the Foundations to Robotics Lab, taking that next step up from learning the basic systems, how the motion and controls work, steering, drive, assembly of the chassis, electronic systems, and then adding like the microcontrollers, sensors and servos, robotic arms, stuff like that, adding to that. And then you can move into more advanced stuff where we take the next level up of going into drones with flight and ground drones with the GPS navigation. So we kind of split everything up to build incrementally on each previous step, kind of reinforce what we learned before, and then add a little bit more to the complexity to that level of skill.
Great.
All right. Yep. Thank you, Melissa. I think Levi absolutely nailed that. So this is the time where we have an opportunity to just close up shop today. We really appreciate everybody joining us, particularly our two guests, both Terry Graham and Levi Wilson of Mind's Eye Education. Again, talking about some really fascinating technology. We've got some great editions of Webinar Wednesday coming up for you the next couple of weeks. Next week on the 23rd of, next week on the 16th of December, I guess that would be. We'll be joined by Josh Gamer. Josh is one of the great deans at Western Technical College. Just opened up an amazing apprenticeship and industry training center. We're going to talk with him about advancements and best practices in apprenticeship programs. We're also going to have a tour of his facility there in La Crosse, Wisconsin. That is going to be one that you will not want to miss. And especially anybody that's interested in learning more about apprenticeships. Turning the clock forward a week after that, our topic will be a best of Webinar Wednesday. Believe it or not, we're somewhere near 40 of these that we've been doing since this current pandemic began. And we've just had some great guests and some great insights. We're going to have a compilation of some of the greatest moments on Webinar Wednesday that we will air on the 23rd of December. And then you don't want to miss us on the 30th. We're going to reflect a little bit on the year 2020 and talk about certainly a challenge for all of us in technical education, but some incredible innovations and some incredible lessons learned during that period of time. We will share those out on the 30th of December. So once again, thanks to our guests. Thank you so much to our audience for joining us yet another week on Webinar Wednesday. We will see you on December 16th to talk about apprenticeships. Have a great week.